All right. Thanks everybody for joining. Welcome. I'm John Faris. I'm president at Red Door Interactive and want to thank you for joining us in today's speakers series event where we aim to educate and inspire our clients, colleagues, and the marketing community at large with timely topics. So obviously today we're going to be covering video, and our panelists are going to talk all about how you can use video to drive better results. Want to just get started with a few logistics. So for those joining us online, hello. If you'd like to share this event with friends, not too late. The link is in the chat. We are going to reserve about 15 minutes at the end for questions, both virtual and in person. So if you are virtual, you can use that Q&A tab in the Teams platform, and you can enter those along the way. We'll be monitoring but answering them at the end. And then we will share a recording of today's event following tomorrow, and along with a copy of our white paper around video best practices and a cheat sheet for the various platforms. And we'll share some show notes as well with links to videos. Playing videos in a hybrid environment is very dangerous. So we're not going to bother with that today, but we will send out some links to things that are referenced throughout the panel event. So with that, let's introduce today's panelists. I'm going to start at the far end with Travis, VP of Marketing and Communications at San Diego Loyal Soccer Club. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the Loyal.
Great to be here. How many people here have heard of the Loyal, San Diego Loyal? This is good. Very good. Good start. I'm from Queens, New York. Apologies for the Knicks hat, but I have Knicks fever right now. But I moved here in October 21. I've worked in professional soccer the last 6 years. Prior to that, I worked in politics in New York City, event marketing. So, not a traditional career path, but always wanted to work in sports, and soccer was that first opportunity. Joined the Loyal in 21 in the fall. The club launched during the pandemic, right? It's hard to launch a club not in a pandemic. And I think you're seeing, if you've paid attention to us, you've seen the growth both in the stands and then in the community. So we're proud of what we do. We're excited about this season. Our home opener is this Saturday at 7 p.m. We just released new jerseys. I'm wearing one of them right now. But yeah, thrilled to be here and join this conversation.
Awesome, thank you. And next we have Kristen from Mountain. Tell us a little bit about the Director of Customer Success role at Mountain, how you got there, and more about Mountain.
Sure. Hey, everyone. Nice to meet you. So as you mentioned, my name is Kristen, Director of Customer Success at Mountain. I have been at Mountain for about 5-ish years and in the industry for, I don't know, maybe 12, if I do my math correct. It's been a good run. I live in Orange County, so not too far from you guys here in San Diego. So it's just a quick little drive down the 5 this morning. Mountain specifically is a connected TV advertising platform, what we call performance TV. We call it that because our goal always is to drive performance for our brands and our advertisers, as simply as possible. So what I do at Mountain, I oversee the customer success department. So we work with a number of brands, ensuring that everything our team does on a day-to-day is to drive measurable outcomes for our customers, ensuring that the experience is as positive as possible, constantly mitigating churn and doing what we need to do to ensure that all of our customers have the best experience with Mountain and that we're constantly improving our engagement model across the board. Nice to meet you all.
Thanks, Kristen. Happy to have you. And Lexi, Social and Content Specialist at Red Door. I think people know what Red Door is, but tell us a little bit about more about your role.
Perfect. Yeah, so like John said, I'm a social and content specialist here. So on the day today, I really manage clients' socials, from strategy to community management to creating all their assets and leading that direction. And on the flip side of that, I do their blog strategy, copywriting, and then emails as well. And I'll keep it brief for you, John.
Thanks, Lexi. And last but not least, Edgar, paid media strategist. Edgar, tell us tell us a little bit more about your role.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so paid media strategist. So basically working with clients on developing their goals, strategizing all the different media channels to hit their goals, specifically like lead gen, e-commerce, how we're going to get customers through the door, and then what kind of channels we want to run, top of funnel, the middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, and just making sure we get those users, through the front door, so to speak, and ultimately convert at their end. So working a lot with our specialists and our media coordinators to execute those strategies that we develop with our clients, and then ultimately execute, and then eventually report on our work.
Great, thanks, Edgar. And hold on to that mic because I'm gonna kick the first question to you. So video now accounts for about 80% of all consumer internet traffic, and traditionally video and TV in particular has been thought of as a top of funnel channel. With the proliferation of streaming video and digital advertising, what are you seeing in terms of how video impacts the customer journey?
That's a great question. Video is really near and dear to my heart, both as a consumer. I watch a lot of YouTube personally, but as an advertiser, I definitely can see those parallels a lot, because video is a good way for us to just target users who either haven't been introduced to a brand before. It's usually a fun and you can be a quirky kind of way to introduce a brand with a lot of video content. Really, and the differences now with digital streaming and just video in general compared to traditional TV is the type of audiences that we could target. We can get very specific versus just TV traditionally is just super broad, targeting different households, different users in them. But now we can get down to either interest groups, users who specifically search. One of my favorite audience types is called custom intent on YouTube, which is basically users who are searching for specific keywords on YouTube, on Google search. We could target them on YouTube as well. So we can go after specific users who maybe it's difficult to do or target on traditional TV, and that's working really well. But that's obviously top of funnel. So also we can really work on the bottom of the funnel, so we can remarket, which typically you can't do on traditional TV. We've definitely seen some really good advances in the remarketing audiences, and the way, even though with privacy kind of creeping up a little bit here and limiting us a little bit in a way, but obviously for the good. We still have ways to target users who have either visited our website before or potentially added a cart. If we're doing like an e-commerce type of client, we can remarket those users to make sure they can come back. And then we have all this data. That's the beautiful thing about it. We can see what kind of users we're engaging with, which ads are working well for us. And if we're pretty quick, we can change our video content and adapt it to the different audiences that we're targeting, and then ultimately, hit those goals that we originally set up with our clients.
Yeah. So Kristen, on the connected TV side, again, TV's been thought of more as that awareness mechanism. How does Mountain think about connected TV and reaching people at different parts of the funnel beyond just that awareness phase?
And Edgar stole a couple of my points, but no, a couple others as well. You're right. So yeah, traditionally speaking, or historically speaking, TV has always been more of like a brand awareness play, and our focus is on reach and getting in front of as many users as possible. And it's really evolved. And I'm sure by everyone in this room, if you have a streaming TV device or a smart TV, I'm sure at least 80+%, if not 100% in this room have that. It just goes to show, the evolution of how we're consuming content has changed, and the types of content that we're being served and what we do once we are served that. And what we're seeing happen more and more here is that we really can tie direct response activities back to a connected TV impression that serves. So it really transforms TV from what once was, a more of an upper funnel reach and awareness play down to like, did that household end up taking an action as a result? I would say there's like 4 key things that have kind of really driven this shift. The first one was mentioned already too, and that's the precision targeting and audience targeting capabilities. So all of us are being served ads that should be relevant to us based on, the behaviors that we're taking on a regular basis. So it eliminates some of the guesswork. We don't need to assume where an audience is streaming content or watching content. Like, we know where they're watching content based on some of the tracking that we have and whatnot. So really like precise targeting, getting in front of those users wherever they're consuming TV makes it way more relevant to the user and way more impactful at the end of the day. I would say second to that is like a creative component. So being able to have like customized creative for, honestly, on a household level, we could even do that. So, your targeted ads with products that you've expressed or shown some interest in. So whether you're in market for dog food, or, we know that you're a pet owner based on different characteristics, you're going to be served more pet friendly ads than potentially your neighbor who doesn't have an animal and whatnot. So it makes it extremely relevant to the consumer. Obviously, that's way more powerful from an impact standpoint. If you see an ad for a product that you're in market to, of course, you're more likely to take action as a result. The third component is, I would say, the measurability piece. So, in the linear space, it's difficult to really measure like the effectiveness of the channel. And with connected TV, you can directly connect the dots between an impression that was served in a household and did that user take action, and what their customer journey looked like along the way. So what devices did they move from their TV to their cell phone or back to their laptop after work, following that user across all the different points in their journey and ultimately seeing them take an action. And then I would say the last component that really has evolved this industry and shifted this to truly like a low funnel direct response channel is the level of optimization that we can do. So, and all of this is automated, which makes it a lot easier for my job and everyone else is out there, to ensure that, like, based on the data, that we're making changes around the clock in real time to target the right people on the right networks at the right time. That's going to really drive an action. And that's ultimately what all of the advertisers are looking for at the end of the day is some sort of, how can we justify the success of this program? And you can do so through leveraging connected TV.
And for those that aren't as familiar, like, what are some of the platforms that are available through Mountain to reach consumers?
Yeah. So at Mountain specifically, we can reach consumers at all the different points of the funnel. So from a prospecting lens, we're leveraging third-party audiences. So this is where like the behavioral segments come into play. So, Edgar kind of mentioned this too a little bit, like you can get categorized for all the different actions that you're taking throughout your day-to-day, and you fall into all these different audience buckets, and we can now reach you on CTV depending on what buckets you fall in. So that could be anything from like demographic data to interest data to in-market data to purchase behavior, whatever it might be, we can segment accordingly.
And is that reaching people on Hulu or, and Netflix now has an ad-supported model?
Yes. So it's basically any network that anyone has access to through their streaming device, smart TV. We're looking at, it could be like Fox Sports, it could be ESPN, it could be Hulu, any network, Bravo, you're watching Real Housewives or whatever show you're interested in. And those TV commercials that you're going to get, they're like 15 or 30-second spots in between your show. As most of us know, we cannot skip them, which really justifies the power of these commercials. That's what we're serving on a regular basis.
Got it. And Travis, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, just from a loyalty perspective. How are the loyal using video to keep people excited about the product on the field?
Yeah, so I'm constantly thinking about is I have to engage the soccer fan, obviously, but then I also have to engage people that don't know who we are at all, right? Just the San Diegan that maybe wants to do something cool on a Saturday. So I think you'll find that our videos cater to both. We're showing the soccer action, but then we're also telling our story, what we're doing in the community at the same time, and blending those two things. Different purposes, right? Like paid video for us, like we have OTT and all those things too, right? That's going to be more driven ticket sales, things like that. But organic video is going to be a little bit more in depth about who we are, what our players are doing, and what we're doing in the community.
Lexi, speaking of social, what are some of the emerging trends more on the organic social side for video and technology that people are using there?
Yeah, so I would say the kind of overarching biggest trend that we're seeing right now is just the shifts in how people are consuming content on social. The first one being right now, I don't know, you probably have heard it a lot, but on social it's UGC, which is user generated content. And it's been around for a while, but it's almost taking a new form in how people are recognizing it as. So basically UGC is people that just make the content for you. But the first way is people are sharing it to social on their own accounts, and you're getting the permission and reposting it to your own profile with still giving them the credit. The second way that now is on the rise and a lot of brands are looking to participate in is hiring people to make that content for you that you post natively on your account as your own content. So kind of taking the level of effort and work off of your plate. This content is usually a lot more authentic and lifestyle looking. It's not as branded. It's a lot more relatable to people, which is definitely where social is moving. They don't really want to see brands that are super poised and don't really have a personality. This kind of helps break up that feed and shows them like, we're a brand, we have people, and here's where you can kind of connect to us beyond just here's our product, here's our service. It helps to just create a different creative look on your feed and feel for it. The second one being under the shift in consuming content would be keyword optimized captions versus just hashtags now. So little quick stat for you. Google put out a study that said that 40% of 18 to 24-year-olds are now going to social platforms versus using just search engines. So a lot of those searching tendencies are happening on social, and you need to make sure that your captions are being optimized and using those specific keywords so that people can find you through there, because these people will get older and it will still continue to be a trend. Search engines have to adjust to this. Google is, putting out the video options now in their site as well, because that's how people are liking to digest their content. So I would definitely recommend putting more of those keywords into your captions. Also, if you have the availability to work with an SEO expert and just get their tips and some light research on what keywords are actually performing well. And then thirdly would be the closed captioning. A lot more accessibility is popping up on social and needing to be following that trend. Not only is it great for the accessibility portion, but also the engagement portion. It keeps people longer on your videos and helps them to not only hear it, sorry, I'm a signal person, hear it, but also to read it and really connect with what you're saying.
Yeah, because not everybody has a sound on when they're
exactly
scrolling through Instagram or TikTok. So speaking of TikTok, like it's been interesting to see that the major shift away generationally at first, but now kind of spreading multi-generationally from Instagram, from MySpace to Facebook to Instagram to TikTok now, and to see Google with YouTube Shorts and Instagram Meta with Instagram Reels kind of make that shift. How can marketers kind of follow consumers into that trend? Like what would be the difference between a typical video you would see on old school YouTube versus now what you would see on TikTok?
I think it's a lot more fast paced is really probably the bigger difference. YouTube, you used to go there and watch like 20-minute to 45-minute videos and here's a day in my life. People will now want that day in life in 30 seconds. They don't care about all of the little things that you did throughout it. And I think mainly is they just want to be entertained, but their attention span is so short that you only have a couple seconds to get that attention from them, which is why like within the first second and a half, it's really important to do something that stops them from scrolling, because the action now is just keep scrolling, keep finding. If I don't like it, I don't care. Like I'll scroll past it. Whereas it's just a different way of consuming content nowadays than it was on YouTube. People had the time to sit there and watch. People don't have that time anymore and don't want to particularly. Yeah. And you have to find out as a brand, how do you play in that field and make sure that you are doing something that's going to make them want to pay attention to you. Yeah.
And I like, if you have that great hook and you keep people engaged, you can go further than the 15 or 30 seconds. I just saw an ad from Hilton on TikTok that the hook was Paris Hilton, of course, but they kept people around for 10 minutes, but it was for at the end you were promised a chance to win 10 million Hilton points. So that was a compelling reason to stick around. And they used co-creators, influencers. It was really a good blend of a lot of these tactics. We can link that in the show notes here. So related to technology, so obviously generative AI is kind of the the topic du jour these days. And if those that you that don't know, that's like ChatGPT, or Google now has Bard, and there's other platforms out there. How, if at all, is generative AI kind of changing the way that marketers can execute on video? Edgar, you want to give it a shot?
Yeah, so I think it's a really exciting time with this new generative AI technology. I know we've seen it in the news a lot, where it's can answer a lot of great questions. I think I've seen it even past like the like MSAT, or all the fancy tests out there, SATs and stuff like that. So we're using this type of technology to create either scripts for videos. I know sometimes it can cost a brand time and money to create a script, but if you can just have someone kind of feed it a couple of prompts and some unique selling propositions of a product or service that you're offering, it could quickly generate a script that it could be a 15-30 second script, and you're done in 30 seconds or less, because it could do that type of work for you. Also, just concepting as well. I think you can just, again, feed it a couple of prompts, some ideas that you have around in a video idea that you want to do, or just your product or services, and it can still give you those concepts, which then you can obviously work with your creative team and then hopefully build that video as well. I've also seen now even newer technology. I forgot, guys, do you remember the name of it? I forgot the one that does the text to video ad. Synthesia. Yes. So basically you feed it some text, some prompts, and it creates animated videos for you. And I believe it uses almost like an avatar to talk for you. So it's just building all of that stuff on its own. So especially creative being definitely a pain point for a lot of brands in terms of creating video for their video ads. This is just a somewhat simple and quicker way to kind of start doing that, because that's the lifeblood of any video campaign, is constantly refresh creative. If we don't, we get stagnant and we get stale. So we definitely want to make sure we can update and refresh creative as much as possible. So I think this generative AI technology is going to help brands just close that gap on that creative refreshing, just because it's going to just help us push it even further, and we can just test it on the fly. If we test one video, it doesn't work too well, let's try something else. Let's try a new concept and keep going at it. So it's just going to let us quickly refresh video creative for the future.
Yeah, maybe like not a replacement for live action video, but that brands can create that's really engaging, but maybe a way to supplement it.
Yeah, exactly. So I know a lot of brands, want to do those high value production type of videos, really fancy corporate videos, or you see out there on TV, which is great and all. But even small videos, and I tell my clients this all the time, if they're struggling with producing those big branded type of videos, let's try some like almost slideshow animations. Get like a PowerPoint type of thing and just make it loop with different slides, different text. That still works. Any type of video motion action, even if it's text, maybe some voiceover on it, really helps us. So this, I think, is just going to close that gap for brands who can't afford or can't, have the time for those big branded type of videos.
Something's better than nothing.
Absolutely.
How about on the anybody else have anything to add on the AI side?
Just a quick point for that. I use it mainly for like social concepting for topics, because it can take a lot of time to go through the different social platforms, and of course, like, the trending trends happening. But other than that, it takes a little bit of time to work through and find what different topics work for people and what you can find. With particularly ChatGPT, you can just put a prompt in there. So like you can put skincare topics for social posts, and it will generate like 20 concepts for you of different posts that you can do. And basically that just helps me a lot with giving me that head start for when I'm planning my monthly content. And then on the other hand of doing that is for blog concepting as well. So just topics that you might not be thinking of, but are still relevant to consumers. And it just helps with that initial like head start is what I would say. It gives you that like slight advantage.
Yep. And then adding originality and expertise to it to really differentiate. Because at some point, if everything's ChatGPT concepted, then nothing original is out there.
Right.
How about on the measurement side? And maybe we can start with Kristen, because I know Mountain's particularly measurable on the direct response side. So what's the approach to measurement in video for Mountain?
Sure. So just kind of taking a step back to looking at different points of the funnel. Well, we typically have different ways to measure the success and the effectiveness of those efforts. So kind of starting at the top. Of course, we're looking at things like how many households are we reaching, how many users in these households are like completing the full video. And because they're not skippable and everyone wants to continue watching their program, those completion rates tend to be pretty high, like 98% and above. But even beyond that, from a top funnel standpoint, we're looking at incrementality. What I mean by that is how many more users took action, whether that be visiting the site or purchasing your product or service as a result of seeing the CTV ad versus those that were not exposed to it. So that's something that we're able to measure directly as as a result from our connected TV channels at that point. As we work our way down, mid funnel, we're looking at typical website analytics. So what type of lift in site traffic did we drive? What was the cost per site visit and data points like that. And even take it one step further to look at like the behavioral changes as a result of these efforts. So did the consumers that were driven, or the potential consumers that were driven from mounting connected TV ads spend more time on the site than those that were driven from any other marketing channel? And like, are they purchasing more products or, higher average order value or lifetime value of those consumers? And then of course, low funnel, we're looking at what was the return on your ad spend, the cost of acquiring a customer. But I think the biggest and most effective way when it comes to measuring connected TV alongside all of those metrics I just listed is kind of the halo impact that this channel has on all of the other channels that an advertiser is running in their marketing mix. At Mountain specifically, and we've heard these stats directly from our customers, that when they turned on mounting connected TV, they saw like a 20%, I think it's 22% lift in their paid search results and a 9% lift in their social results. So needless to say, it's like that holistic impact that this channel can have that really extends the success of not only TV specifically, but across what they're doing, across their full marketing mix.
And related to like the direct response aspect, are you seeing advertisers have success with interactive creative, or even if it's like a QR code that's, part of the commercial? I mean, that's most directly measurable. It kind of discounts like the broader impact, obviously, but.
Exactly. Yeah. The QR code one is funny, and it comes up more times than I could even count on two hands, just because, a lot of like large advertisers are leveraging that. At Mountain specifically, our intent with any setup, and Edgar mentioned this earlier too, is to test and iterate based on that. So like there is no one best practice that works for all customers. And for some, like that QR code actually can be very impactful. So like leverage that more type of interactive creative. And then, something that Lexi mentioned regarding like user generated content. On TV, you typically see like polished and poised commercials. We have a lot of advertisers that like isn't what performs best, or we say test both and let's let, the data really dictate what decisions you make moving forward. So it varies is the short answer to that question. But yes, we are seeing more and more interactivity and the engagement that people want with the commercials that they're receiving.
Gotcha. And Travis, how do you approach that with the loyal from a measuring success perspective?
Look, at the end of the day, we're trying to sell tickets.
Yeah.
Like that's definitely the bottom line. So like similar to what she's saying, like, with our paid video, we're looking for website traffic and conversions and all those traditional things. But then like organically, I think it's a little different. Overall, we're still looking for that awareness play. So, and then we have so many different types of videos, right? So we could be pulling clips from our games that, it's a big, a popular goal or big play, right? We're looking for views for that, straight up, just like 20,000 views, whether that's nationally, internationally, or locally. When we're making a community piece that has a little emotive content in it, I'm looking for people sharing it. I'm looking for our follower growth to increase because people are finding out about us through San Diego, through a community play. So I think we have so many different types of video that each has honestly its own unique purpose. But at the end of the day, yes, we're trying to sell tickets. So seeing that lift, actually saying, website traffic, we see that with certain different types of snackable content and things like that.
Got it. And Edgar, so, I mean, obviously if we can get somebody to click through from a video ad to the website, that's highly measurable. What are some other kind of ways to measure like that halo effect? I know you're working on like a search search lift study. That's one option. What are some of the other ways that you find most effective to measure video success?
Yeah, definitely. So I think measuring brand awareness is a difficult concept to wrap around. I know when we report into clients, it's, okay, what is it doing? We can drive impressions and views all day, but in the long term, what is it doing? So that's one way we try to approach it with our clients is like video and awareness is the long play. We want to make sure we build that brand awareness over a course of time, especially for like, let's say lead generation. It could definitely take time for someone to get familiar with the brand and then eventually, become a client there. So brand lift studies and search lift studies, basically what they do is like specifically for YouTube is that we could serve a bunch of video ads to a group of users who haven't seen our ads, and then and then our control is people who have seen it, and then just measuring through surveys through YouTube saying like, hey, did you see this video? Yes or no? Or then we can also get other more deeper questions like, hey, if you're interested in one of these 4 brands, one of our clients being included, which one are you more likely to either purchase from or sign up for? So things like that help us kind of see the measurements of our brand awareness. I think it's a very important thing to do because again, we can drive impressions and views and engagements all day, but if it's not really actually helping us move the needle in terms of just that brand recognition or brand equity, it's kind of difficult to report that back to our clients. But kind of going back a little bit to what Kristen said, I think her approach made the most sense of like, we want to look at our top of funnel awareness campaigns through engagement, video views, video completion rates. One thing I like to do, especially on YouTube, is I like to run a lot of skippable ads. So this is testing our actual engagement with our potential users. So if a user doesn't want to engage with the video, they skip it. It doesn't cost us anything. But if they actually keep watching the video, this is actually showing us actual engagement, or how much are they watching it. If it's a 30-second video, they watch half of it. Okay, we got at least half of it there. If they're watching the full thing, they're actually engaging with the video because they have the option to skip that video and just move on to their video. So I think that's very important for us to engage, and that also lets us kind of just get into some creative testing to see like which of these 2 videos have a longer view rate. One video we got up to 50% completion, the other one we got up to 70% completion. So that's telling me like video B is working a lot better for us here. And then just for lower funnel too as well, obviously we want to test or measure conversions, whether a lead gen or product purchase, but we also like to add in a lot of micro conversions for those lower funnel tactics, email signups, time on site, pages per session, just because that also kind of feeds us a little bit more information on like, is the traffic that we're driving to the website qualified? If they come in and, they have, a 90% bounce rate, they click on the site, they're on there for 2 seconds and leave, okay, that's fine. It's top of funnel type of brand awareness videos. We typically see that, but for lower funnel remarketing campaigns, we want to see a little bit more engagement on those websites. Are they clicking through multiple pages? Are they adding to cart and whatnot? So that definitely helps us kind of understand those type of user metrics on the lower funnel.
Yeah. So you talk about like a good conversion rate being like 3 or 4%, something like that. That means 96% of people are not converting, but did they engage in some capacity when they got to the site? How about so that's all data exhaust, right? Like the data coming out of our campaigns. How about using data to inform the creative or the targeting to begin with?
Yeah, it's a great question. So a lot of the times, I'm in Google Analytics pretty often. I like to see where users are coming from, the referral sites. Is there a particular, type of audience that they're coming from? These are the type of audiences that we like to also target. So we can obviously guess and kind of go after for a particular brand. We know more or less the persona given to us by our clients or just the type of product or services that we're offering. But we find some pretty good nuggets of information from Google Analytics that we don't obviously see. I've targeted audiences that to me are completely way out in left field, but because they're really engaged on our website, according to Google Analytics, I target them and we see some really good engagement or conversions from them. So using those metrics to kind of inform our campaigns or just video campaigns as a general rule, it works really well for us. Using that data and then also obviously, working with our customers or clients here, getting a lot of the customer emails and using those to build out lookalike audiences. So a lot of first party data is very useful for us to generate new potential customers that we we want to go after, especially with like third-party cookies going away. We definitely need to utilize a lot of first-party data in order to inform our campaigns a lot better. So obviously we can use that for building loyalty campaigns and make sure we can get our loyal customers back into the funnel if need be, especially for products or clients that you sell like consumable products. If it's like a 30-day window when they let's say they're selling supplements, 30-day supply, maybe after like 35 days, 40 days, let's re-engage them, make sure they sign up again and purchase again from us. But using that first party data for us is very paramount to make sure we're using the right type of data for our clients.
Lexi, on the organic side, like what kind of insights are you looking for to drive the creative for social?
Yeah, particularly for Reels, what I try to do is once I pull all of the data natively or from a scheduling tool, I look at which ones performed the best. First, what was the pillar, meaning like what was the overall content theme related to the brand of that video? And then I look at was it the trending sound? Was it the concept? Was it the length of time? Try to use more of those, like not exactly data metrics, but more of just visually of what I could guess was working, and then see if there's a thread between these top performing posts of why they were our top performing posts. And then once I kind of have an idea from there, that's a lot easier for me to then inform my future creative. And really what I think it's about is like taking those insights, but then doing like duplicating it again to see, like test it again. What really was that metric of why it performed well? And that's something that you can kind of just keep stocked up. As for like actual data, for Reels, what their goal really is that we want to be reaching new people on the platform. So usually you'll have like a higher percentage of people that you reach that do follow you, but I like to kind of look at it as like a 60% followed you that saw this reel, 30% followed you that didn't see this reel, and that's called non-follower reach. So Instagram, for example, does that breakout, and so I'll do that breakout. I'll look at that individually on each video and see like which had a higher non-follower reach, which means that the reel did its job. We reached a different audience, and then kind of use that to then also inform the creative. It's like, okay, so people that didn't follow us found this particular topic intriguing. So let's make sure that tells me like what they're interested in and want to see from us, especially if they chose to follow us after that. I want to make sure that we're still hitting on that topic. Take the home industry, for example. It's really easy for us to see like, okay, so maybe people aren't exactly ready to buy a home right now, but something that performed really well is like home buying tips. So let's make sure that we're educating them on that factor. And so I'll take that for future videos.
Travis, so the Loyal's creating a lot of different types of videos for different channels from a more of a production perspective. How do you handle that, trying to get the most bang for your buck out of one shoot?
Yes.
Or
Yeah, we know that everything we create, whether you might not think it's specific to a certain channel, that we are going to carve it up. And we know that there will be even just one clip from a long form video that is going to work on TikTok. So the approach is always, we know whatever we're creating is going to be shared on all of the channels, because we also don't have we have to put content on all the channels, right?
Yeah.
So there's always a mindset of, even while we're in the live shoot, right, of noticing what we're going to use for a specific medium. But we're always looking to carve it up to fit all the channels.
Got it. So just making sure you have like a shot list going into it, like that's
not even necessarily like I'm lucky to have like a super talented videographer that we know what we're gonna do, but she could take I don't know, a quick segment from one piece and crop it and fit it to where we need it to be.
Got it. Lexi, something to add?
Yeah, just a tip for that. When you are doing photo shoots, usually it is focused on like the larger production and getting as much content for that. But I would definitely recommend doesn't have to be a social person, but having someone there to just capture like behind the scenes, get all of that B-roll that can just be repurposed on organic. Like the video doesn't have to match what you're actually saying. If you just use the video as a background and throw some text up for tips, it works really well. So definitely make sure that you're capturing it from the video production side, but also maximizing, they're expensive sometimes. So maximizing that by having a social person there to get all of that content that doesn't necessarily have to be super poised. Obviously, social doesn't need to be just like that. So that would be my biggest tip for like, especially maximizing on what you're paying for.
Got it. And Lexi, while you have the mic, what are some common mistakes from a production perspective or post production that people are advertisers or marketers are making on their social videos?
Yeah, I would say not repurposing their assets would be a common mistake, or thinking that it needs to be super differentiated across different platforms. I think it's more about editing the video to fit more, like cutting out of those larger ones for the platform in particular. So like TikTok is a lot more quicker. You don't really need to edit. You don't need to make it super polished at all. This can be where like all of your experimental concepts are coming to life, versus TikTok or versus Instagram. You may want to be a little bit more polished, but it still is not like a branded video that you would do. And I think people overthink that when repurposing, and they're always like, oh, I have to have this new content and this new video, and oh, I already used that video. Realistically, it was a month ago. No one remembers that video. Just frankly.
How many videos have they seen since then?
Exactly. So like no one's really going to remember that. So feel free to like reuse that 5-second clip, or if it was a 30-second video, cut it down and just focus on that one topic. All content can be repurposed at least 3 to 5 times. So, and I think that helps me when I'm creating content is looking at just like how to dissect the information a little bit more and make it like lower funnel. If I did like a higher brand awareness video, I'm going to chop it down and make it maybe a little bit more of a consideration or conversion focused video.
Got it. And just we're going to get to questions in a minute here, but just to kind of tie a bow around this topic, Travis, can you speak to a particularly successful video that you guys were able to create, and
Yes.
and why you think it worked?
Yes. So in sports and soccer specifically, there's 2 big releases that, you have to capture the attention on social. So one is when you release your schedule, everybody tries to be clever. And then when you release your jerseys. So unfortunately, when you're, in a lot of the leagues, they let you know your full schedule literally maybe 2 days before you need to release it. So that was the case in early January for us. And at the time, White Lotus was very popular. So for us, I'm always looking to be topical in pop culture as a whole, but then also always trying to tie the city back to whatever that topical thing is, right? And then also the team itself, marketing the team itself. So those 3 things, so that we're attracting the soccer fan, the pop culture person, and the San Diegan. So we played on the White Lotus theme, put together a video in 2 days, had my videographer and photographer go to Balboa Park, which has that, architecture that's very similar, right, to the show. We went to the San Diego Museum of Art, took pictures of frames, then had our graphic designer place images of our games from last year, and then release our schedule as the opening theme to the show, essentially. So that's when also Twitter was first allowing you to now see how many people are viewing the tweet. It was easily the most viewed tweet we've ever had. It was like almost 200,000 plus views on the tweet, and then a ton of video views. So a lot of people sharing it that had no idea who we are, that were just like, this is amazing, celebrating Balboa Park, all those things. So all the ingredients together, and again, every brand is different, right? We're super hyper local, so that's what we have to do. But saw the return immediately.
That's great. I love how you strategically triangulate those things in all the content that you're creating. Awesome. Well, let's take some questions. Any questions from the audience? And do we have any in the chat as of now? Okay. Video questions, and if you're online, throw your questions in the chat.
Hello. I have 2 questions for Kristen. One, yeah, perfect. One really focused on creative and CTV, and then the other on kind of limited budgets. So we obviously have a wide range of clients. A lot of our clients have either internal creative teams, or even one person doing their creative, or they hire our creative team. All very different. But with media, obviously, ad fatigue is a thing. It's very relevant, and our clients don't always have the ability to churn creative like they should be. So first question is really focused on that. What is best case scenario for when using CTV? How often should we be churning that creative? And then if we're not able to do that, at the very minimum, what is the advice that you would have when using CTV?
Sure. That is a great question. So we say quarterly, to rotate your creative if you can on a quarterly basis. And if possible, like make it relevant to whatever is like seasonally appropriate, kind of like what Travis was saying at that time. I know that's not always easy to do, but even if it's like just ensuring that there's holiday focused creative during holiday and summer during summer, or align the creative with whatever promotions are going on, even that alone makes a big difference. So even if you don't have the resources to like pump out a full new video production that frequently, like small tweaks, even if it's like the end card CTA, or a small change in the voiceover, like little changes make a big difference. Even if, like you were saying, the background video doesn't change substantially, it almost looks like a new video, because like we mentioned, you see so much content, between the first time you saw it and a month later, that you probably don't remember everything. So if something minor changes, that would be my recommendation if, you aren't able to produce new creative. But if you are, a quarterly refresh is typically kind of the best practice from that standpoint. And one more thing I'd add. Actually, I just slipped my mind. So if it comes back to me, I'll let you know.
Yeah, no, that's great. And you reminded me, I mean, I feel like even TikTok's a really good example, but even changing, like you said, the music, or some of the text, like even search engines see that differently. So it helps just with greater range. So that's great. Thank you.
Of course.
And then one more. Sorry.
Me again. I'm the hot seat.
I like to take this mic when I'm in this room. No, my last question is really focused on clients with limited budget.
Yeah, yes.
One of our clients, we have been kind of navigating the situation where there's limited budget, but they really want that premium spread using CTV. So they leaned into Mountain and they love it and they love that exposure, but they haven't been able to really use budget for a remarketing campaign to have like those additional touch points. So when we're dealing with that, there's obviously, okay, what are their goals here? There's awareness, all the different aspects of the funnel. They're trying to convert and still use this platform as an awareness build, but also like not have it be a waste of money. And so there's like all of that kind of back and forth. For clients who don't have that kind of additional budget to have those additional campaigns, do you have any recommendations or I guess loopholes in a way?
Sure. So you hit the nail on the head. What it really comes down to, like, what is their end all be all goal with the channel and with leveraging Mountain, and how does Mountain or connected TV in general fit in with their overall marketing mix? So what we typically do in those scenarios where there is limited budget is like, even though we're TV and we're just one piece, like we want to understand how they're allocating their budget across the board and like kind of be the consultant in that conversation of like, okay, well, if you're putting significant portions in a lot of these upper funnel efforts, then maybe you leverage CTV from a low funnel standpoint and like you run those remarketing campaigns if driving sales and revenue is your end all be all goal, or vice versa. They're doing a lot of that elsewhere, then use Mountain from more of like from an assisted conversion lens. So back to the Google Analytics reference, like oftentimes, one way of when an advertiser doesn't have significant spend in the channel, we can show the impact of this channel across all their other marketing channels. So what influence did TV have on driving that sale? And at what point in the funnel did TV make that impact? Was it that first impression? Was it middle? Was it the last impression that got them to convert? So it's more of, I would say, like the optics of how we analyze the results and the effectiveness and look at it like on a macro level and not like TV isolated.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Let's go here and then we'll go on.
Hi, I'm Sapna from UC San Diego, and I just moved here from New York City too. 3 days after you. I'm the director of visual storytelling there, but I had a question. I think it's for Lexi and Travis, but for reformatting videos for different platforms. So like some of the videos are hard to get short because with researchers or with like all the B-roll and the footage, it's like 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. But I'm wondering like how to use them so over the years where I was before, I would cut for social, for like stories, I'd do a vertical cut. Then they allowed links. So we would do like a tease cut and then link back to the longer version. And now with like, then they allowed video previews and stories, but now with Reels and TikTok, like, do you have suggestions for how to Like, should we make separate cuts that are just shorter just for those platforms? Or should we use it to tease? Just like specific suggestions for how to use it.
Yeah. My biggest thing first would be testing that and seeing on each platform what performs better, the short, snappier, digestible content. And if I think aligning your goal first with that video would be important. So if on TikTok, you're going to try a 15-second clip, make sure that you're tracking that and seeing versus the minute or 2-minute clip, like how many people did actually go make an action on your profile, and go to the longer version. If it's the shorter, and I also think keeping in mind that people's like, what are they on TikTok for? They're not necessarily on TikTok to leave TikTok. And that's also something the platform doesn't really want them to do. They don't want them clicking off. So keeping that in mind when you're testing it as well, like 15 seconds, if it has the meat of it, that might be enough for them and they got what they need. Versus the 3-minute one, I would almost test that a little bit more, because that would keep them on the platform longer and engaged with your video. As for stories for Instagram, I think that's a great way to test it now that they kind of do the longer segments of them, and definitely have the link on there and test that version of doing, like, especially because you can put the link right there versus TikTok. You cannot have that link. So do like a 15-second clip on Instagram stories with the link, and then on another day, do just a little bit more expanded, do different increments, because like kind of Edgar was mentioning the ad space, like when you do the YouTube ads, you can see where they clicked off. Look at those story metrics, see how many just skipped right over it on the 3-minute one or the 15-second one. Like, to use out of the box metrics basically is what I'm saying. It's not going to be like a straightforward answer. It's going to be more of how they want to view your actual content, and that's going to change versus which platform you're on.
Yeah. We have a podcast, but it's a great point about TikTok to keep them there. But for podcast, we want people to go listen to it. So we'll, it's like a trailer, right, for a longer form piece. So we'll clip a couple good one-liners, put that on our story, and link to the full. But great point about TikTok.
For the long one, did you say like try it? Because that concept of keeping them on the platform. So as part of the experimenting, try the longer one too. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, definitely. Because now that TikTok kind of allows 3 minutes and on, I probably wouldn't do more than 3 minutes. I would try to cut it a little bit to be more informative, unless it's more of like a research, but I think that takes a really particular audience to sit through that. So I would try different increments. I would try the 30 seconds to a minute to 3 minutes and see which one did you get the most engagement on. Especially on TikTok, it doesn't really matter the time of day anymore. You can post 10 TikToks all at the same time. It's really about the content that you have in there. So that's something that is a little bit different on Instagram, which is why I would focus it on TikTok for that particularly.
Hi. So I have a question about there's creating content and there's also interacting with people on social media, like anybody who comments on your posts or who just going through your feed and interacting with any of your customers. What percentage of your resources do you allocate to that, and what's the level of importance that has?
Yeah, so community management is really important for growing that loyalty factor and making them feel like personally for me, if I commented on a brand's video, it would feel really special to have them comment back to me. And it might not seem like a lot for us, but it doesn't take us that much effort to do that. What we like to do is usually about 30 minutes a day. It's really all it takes. We do like 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the afternoon. So we kind of cover our bases there, and we go through our notifications, even if it's just liking their message or simply being like, thank you so much for commenting. We appreciate it. We're so glad you love our product, something like that. That goes a long way. And you'll see over time that those same people that you're interacting with feel more comfortable to continue posting, which obviously just boosts your engagement. So I would definitely recommend starting off with even just 15 minutes a day. It doesn't take a lot. And then, if you want to go one step further with that, and you see a consistent person that is always commenting on your stuff. We track this in Sprout Social, which is a scheduling tool, so we can monitor who's continuously doing this. I would take it one step further and go to their account and comment on one of their photos so that they know that you're engaging with them as well. It's not just you making the effort. It's really about, you're not just a brand. I think this word comes in with the humanistic aspect of things, that like they want to see that there's a real person that they're talking to. And if you can make that connection, it will go a long way.
Travis, from the brand side,
Yeah, I'm a stickler with that. Like all day, I have my social media person doing that. I'll even do it myself, like at night. I also look at it as like commenting on other people's pages. It's free, like digital out of home in a way, right? You just keep popping up on. We follow like all the San Diego tourism accounts, restaurants, right? We're always popping up in all those. So super, super important, especially for us.
Thank you.
And we have one question from the chat. What percentage of your marketing mix should be UGC, especially for clients with low budgets?
For low budgets, I would say a lot larger of a percentage. I would probably give it, well, let me first preface, UGC isn't as always easy to get as you hope, right? There's that component of people are just creating it for you because they love it and they're putting it on their profile. And that, if you can find that, I go through like my tags and see who's doing that. But then there's also the component of kind of the creator economy that's happening right now with the rise of UGC creators and people, what's the app? I'm going to point to my director, Fiverr. There we go. There's audience assistance. Fiverr is an app where you can get creators for a lot cheaper than, say, influencers to create your UGC content. And it's not just them. It's not like highlighting their face. I mean, it can be if that's like a skincare brand and you want to show that, but they're taking that level of effort and workout. If you can make that work because they are cheaper, I would do that. And I would I would say UGC content. Now it's just a really big trend for brands because, again, with the humanistic aspect, they want to see someone. They want to see that relatability. That's what connects them to your brand beyond just your brand pillars. So I would always aim for, I think a good range is about 30 to 45% if you can make it work. But I think any UGC that you can get from consumers, which again helps with the community management, if you're consistently commenting on their stuff, they're going to be more apt to make things for you.
It's 10:30, so we can take more questions offline. But thank you everybody for joining us. Round of applause for the panel. Excellent job, everybody. Also, thank you to Itzy and Laura and Dennis and Alana for getting us all set up here today. Like I mentioned earlier, we will send out an email with show notes and a link to the video. Travis mentioned a few others. And then you're welcome, if you're in person, welcome to stick around and finish off the coffee and pastries. And yeah, thank you everybody for coming and joining online as well.